Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the October 31st, 2020 edition of Pro Wrestling Throwdown. Happy Halloween from us to you. As always, I am Caleb Black, my cohort in crime, Luke the Big Dog Williams, and of course, our boy wonder, Max, the mighty, mysterious Fury, our in-studio producer, guys. How are we doing this Saturday, this Halloween?
Fantastic. Got my cup of Joe.
That's right. Always have good coffee.
Got my wrestling stuff watched.
Whole lots of wrestling this week. Max, how we doing?
I'm doing great. It's a beautiful day outside. We get all this done so we can go enjoy our holiday.
That's right. Go out.
It's a beautiful day outside. Here, we can't really speak for you guys at home.
Get our social distancing drink on. We have a lot to talk about this week in the news. We're going to get right into it in What's News in Wrestling. That's the name of this segment. Starting off, let's tackle this right out of the gate. The WWE, obviously with their mandate that wrestlers have to give over control of their Twitches, a lot of wrestlers have just opted to close them altogether. AJ Styles' name is on the list. As well as, if you watched her video, the heartfelt, heart-wrenching video that Paige gave out, basically, reminding people she's not a full-time talent working right now. She's at home. This is her. She has a relationship with her viewers, and this was her project, her baby. It's such a shame to see this media outlet that all of these wrestlers were utilizing just now almost go defunct instead of turning over that authority and that control of their life over.
Well, it's one of those things. She broke her. She said in the video, I broke my neck twice for this company. I'm not an active wrestler anymore. No. Which means, and not to mention, not being an active wrestler, first off, sucks.
Right.
Being basically paid just to do nothing.
Right.
And not with the coronavirus, them not getting the royalties from house shows or different things that they would be getting the money for.
Yeah.
You're just going to take someone's livelihood. It's not about the subscribes. It's not about the subs.
No, it's about
the being able to communicate with your fans.
Right. Not to mention having that expressive outlet and being able to cultivate that relationship, which obviously helps for future moments, future events. It's a networking platform.
Well, you get to talk directly to your fans. You get to know exactly what your fans want. You get to sell your merch through, being able to. Also, they reached out and tried to ask Lita to cancel her Twitch. Yeah. She isn't even a full-time worker. She's on a Legends contract.
Well, and it's so interesting, too, because you remember a couple weeks ago after Stephanie McMahon's speech that she gave about wrestlers now being able to develop their own brands, and that's something that she's all for. And then right on the coattails, Vince is like, "Oh, you have a brand?
Yeah, I'm not making any money off of that. Yeah. Why would I allow you to do that? Is ridiculous. It's a money grab, and it's bullshit." In
that video, Paige also does mention the idea that wrestlers need to start unionizing, and that's another part of the news, too. The Screen Actors Guild is completely open to having working relationships with the WWE to allow them to unionize. Now, if you don't know this, when Rowdy Roddy Piper started making movies in the late 80s, he was able to get a SAG card, which meant that under SAG regulations, he was able to have health insurance for life.
The first person to bring up the union was Jesse Ventura.
Jesse Ventura wanted to unionize everybody mainstream, but I'm talking one of the first mainstream wrestlers to have belonged to that union was Rowdy Piper.
Yes.
And the idea that wrestlers could do that, have a new avenue for insurance, and have some job protection is a win-win really for everybody, except for the fact that they have to have a working agreement with the WWE. The WWE is going to have to cough up some money, and they're going to have to pay their talent more. Which, let's get something realistic now. The WWE wrestlers do make quite a bit of money.
Yes.
But if you're looking at $1 billion, which, by the way, even during the pandemic, the WWE touted record-breaking number profits for this past year.
I wonder why.
Well, the Saudi Arabia agreement, the agreement with Fox, the new sublet agreement with USA Network, the new agreement in the UK with BN Sports. I mean, so on. And they're making a ton of money. And if you're looking at the profit-sharing percentage that wrestlers are getting, they're not getting nearly as much as they should be.
Not only that, but someone in Paige's predicament, they're only getting the downside of their guarantee.
Exactly, because they're not selling tickets. They're not getting the extra revenue. So having a union presence in wrestling, and I've always, even as an active wrestler, believed we should have unionized, even on the independent scene.
Agreed.
There should be a protective group that allows wrestlers to mitigate their work environment, to request certain amounts of money that would hold promoters to standards. I mean, there's a benefit to this idea.
See, the two difference between that is the indies, basically, they don't have to carry insurance for you.
No, they don't.
WWE should have to and don't.
And they don't. And that's one thing. Remember, too, Andrew Yang, if he's elected to the business side, provided Joe Biden wins the presidency, Andrew Yang has already said, we're going to implement these protections, which will also be interesting to see how that reflects with AEW and Impact.
Right.
Because if you're a mainstream promotion, you have to provide for your employees.
Well, see, the difference between that is I believe that Tony Khan already...
See, I'm not 100% certain of what those contracts... I know that they mentioned that before, but because I don't know for sure.
I'm pretty sure that the insurance-wise, being that his family with the football team and all that, I'm sure that they're covered through whoever covers...
Some form of athletic.
I mean, obviously, Matt Hardy getting injured, several of the people getting injured and being taken care of, where you work for Vince McMahon and you get injured, you're fucked.
Yeah.
Anytime you're contracted to a company where you were in a hazardous situation, which every wrestler, every single match is in a hazardous situation. Yes, you're under contract.
Yeah.
So
well,
you're not an independent contractor.
You're in an investment.
Yeah,
they invested in you. Well, why would you not cover your investment?
Well, it's the classification of them being independent contractors saves Vince millions in insurance.
If they're independent contractors, then why the hell can't they have
and that's the thing.
That's the main argument.
That's their business. Their business model is antiquated and basically exists to pay wrestlers enough money to let them live comfortably to keep them working for Vince. That's it. That's their only motivation. Right. However, we don't want to go too long on this subject.
Right, we've got a lot of subjects, but agreed.
Vince is a dick.
Vince is a dick. There are a whole lot of nefarious business practices. Hopefully some of these get remedied. Speaking of Vince being a dick, Netflix about to produce a series of documentaries on Vince McMahon that are in... what was the report said? Going to be one of the most expensive documentaries
most expensive
ever made, covering the life and times of Vince McMahon. Now, obviously, if you're like we are, you know what you're going to get. You're going to get the WWE Disney whitewash version.
Yep.
Not the fact that Vince McMahon has systemically and periodically and historically fucked all of his workers. Not that he makes gets tax breaks from states.
Not that he allegedly accosted several
different female talents. Not the fact that he covered up wrestlers wrestling's committed crimes, the steroid scandals, you name it. That documentary is not going to cover.
Yeah, you're definitely not going to get the real version.
You're going to get the Vince McMahon, son of a millionaire promoter who took his business and turned it into $1 billion empire, pal. So look out for that for Netflix. Fucking cool. Speaking of other dumb shit Vince has done, I think Vince is going to get a Who'd He Ever Beat segment coming real soon.
It's coming.
Matt Riddle has now been subjected to another wrestler without a first name.
Yeah, I mean, you follow the long lineage of Biggie Langston
to Biggie, Antonio Cesaro to Cesaro, Andrade Cien Almas to Andrade. Now Matt Riddle is just Riddle.
Hector Garza to Garza.
Shorty G's just now he's back to Chad Gable, but I guarantee you he'll just be Chad at some point.
He'll be Gable before it's over with.
Shinsuke Nakamura will just be Shinsuke.
Well, I mean, to be honest, who else was it? There was one more. There was one more big one that he did that too.
I don't remember.
Buddy Murphy.
Oh yeah, now he's just Murphy.
Now just Murphy.
Yeah, so
soon we're just going to get Cena.
Right.
Taker. Even though we all call him Taker.
We're talking about names. Renee Paquette, now formerly Renee Young, is getting ready to release a cookbook. And why that's newsworthy is because it's another media outlet in which someone in the wrestling world is expanding.
Well, let's be honest, that's not really a new thing. I mean, JR's got a cookbook.
I've literally got both of JR's cookbooks in my kitchen right now because I use his recipes. So I'm actually going to buy Renee Young's cookbook, and I'm going to check it out to support Renee Young, Renee Paquette. MLW has renewed their contract with BN Sports.
And we'll start with new shows coming second week of November.
Already, Hammerstone, Fatu have re-signed, so they've got more of their remaining star power sticking around. That's really awesome. And speaking of more star power, man, we got a lot to talk about. Billy Corgan has gone on record to say Thunder Rosa will not be leaving the NWA after having lost the NWA Women's Championship to Serena Deeb.
All right, here's the deal.
Serena Deeb.
The reason behind this is Meltzer, once again.
Who?
We all know who that is, and we all know how we feel about him. Come out and said that the idea was that AEW was courting Thunder Rosa as well as the WWE was courting Thunder Rosa, which Billy Corgan squashed on Twitter by issuing the following statement. Thunder Rosa is under contract with the NWA through mid-2021.
Right.
It amazes me how people who have my personal email, phone number, and address would just report on something instead of coming to the source of everything and just asking.
Dave Meltzer not double-checking?
The saddest part about this whole thing is the Observer that Meltzer works for, he just keeps killing the credibility of that publication because that publication is where a lot of people, including myself, back before I got smart.
Yeah.
Well, I've always been smart in the business, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Got their news, got their information, and now
got your inside scoops.
Oh, it's like, hold on, wait a minute, I've got a dartboard here. We'll just throw this one. Yeah. Okay, Thunder Rosa, hold on, let me throw this one. Impregnated by an alien. Right. Run it.
And not to mention now, even if Thunder Rosa was in negotiations with the WWE and the AEW,
not anymore.
Forcing Billy Corgan to say something about it completely kills her bargaining power.
Yep.
Because some of those signs still need to be a surprise for them to have value.
Agreed.
Some of those signs don't need to be public to keep their value. So she's lost all of her collective bargaining power because they have to reiterate she's still under contract. So she can, you're hurting everybody, man. Speaking of hurting everybody, Jake Hager wins another fight in Bellator.
Controversial.
But he's winning, man. People talk about Brock Lesnar's performance in the UFC, and obviously Brock Lesnar's a megastar, and he's excelled at every single thing he does. But Jake Hager is legitimately double tough. Jake Hager is a legitimate badass, a legitimate All-American wrestler, a legitimate NCAA champion, and now, what is he like? He's 5-0 or 3-0 at Bellator, which he's got more victories in his belt in a UFC ring than other professional wrestlers who made that transition, or an MMA ring.
The controversial aspect of the fight was that he threw an illegal strike, which slowed the fight down.
Would have been really fun if it was the Judas effect. Let's look back up.
Or the fifth move of doom.
Armbar!
Armbar!
The thing, again, I mean, we could talk about this all day, but Jake Hager's a legitimate tough guy, and they're not using him right. I mean, you've got a guy. If Brock Lesnar,
by the way, Jake Hager's face looked like Rocky at the end of Rocky 3.
If Brock Lesnar could have walked into the WWE as UFC champion and won the WWE title as UFC champion, which we haven't seen done since Dan Severn, when he was NWA champion and the Pro Fight champion. What formerly what is now known as
Super Fight.
What is now known as the mainstream version of the UFC. But if Brock Lesnar could have done that, he would have minted even more money. You've got a legitimate badass in Jake Hager who could very well, with 3 or 4 more victories, be in line for a Bellator title shot.
Well, and not only that, he wore the logo on his tights, on his shorts.
Jake Hager could walk into AEW a Bellator fighting champion. I'd start using that to your advantage because that's money. People love the crossover shit and people love real hard asses. Yep. That's just my opinion. And that's what you're here for. The WWE talking about what? Finding a new venue?
An Amway Center-like place for the rest of 2020.
Something that no teams are affiliated with.
I'll tell you what, folks. We've got one right down the way in St. Louis.
It's true.
The old Rams Stadium that has no one in it is a dome.
Come on down,
Bring
baby.
it.
Come on down. I will definitely not be...
How about some of these XFL places that have no teams playing at the moment?
Right, the Rock owns them now.
That's okay, the Rock will let them have
it. For a small nominal fee and a WrestleMania main event.
I hope that happens.
We're going to talk about that in our Hell in a Cell review. Speaking of which, we've got reviews... We've got news. We've got a tribute to the late, great Tracy Smothers, all coming up in this episode.
Everybody dies.
Also, real quick, before we get to the end of this, we finally hit our 100 subscriber mark here on YouTube. Thank you so much for all of your guys' support. As we told you before,
Valor t-shirts coming soon.
Valor t-shirt's going to be out. Also, there's going to be the raffle for another t-shirt we're going to send out for the first 100 subscribers that we had. So keep a lookout for that. We'll be reaching out for some information. Stay tuned for our Bound for Glory review coming up right after this break. You guys rock.